Okay, and let's complete our shared layout section by knocking out the big sidebar. In here, everything is pretty straightforward. We're getting nav links from the component we just set up. We get the logo. We also get the wrapper where we have the styles as well as the use selector. Now in the use selector, I'll have again the state value is sidebar open because in our application, we're able to toggle the big sidebar as well. Now, I guess the only two gotchas here are different setup for the classes that we're returning based on this value. And I'll talk about it once we get here. And also in the nav links, at least in my case, I'm not going to pass in the function to close the sidebar. So yes, you can definitely pass it in here as well. But just keep in mind that every time you'll click, you will essentially hide the big sidebar. Now, if that's what you want, of course, we have the prop. You can definitely do so. But in my case, again, like I said, we won't do that. So let me take these imports here. First, let me set up my big sidebar where it is. Over here, I'll overwrite the wrapper. And let's just start by getting the state value where I'm going to go with const is sidebar and then open, and that is equal to use selector. Let's invoke that. Let's change this around where instead of the heading 2, I'm going to go with div with two classes, sidebar container and show sidebar. But I'll right away set up the interpolation and I'll check for this value and I'll use the ternary operator. But for now, I'll do it like we have been doing all throughout the toggle components, where basically if it's true, then we return both classes. And if not, then of course we return one. Because remember, the show sidebar is going to be, again, the one that is responsible for showing or hiding that particular class. So I'm going to start here with class, or I'm sorry, div with a class name, and then interpolation here. Let's look for is sidebar open. Let's set up the ternary. And like I said, for now, I'll do like we have been doing so far. So sidebar container, and then let's also add show sidebar. And then if it's false, then we just use this one, the sidebar container. Now, instead of this div, we're going to set up another div with a class of content. And inside of that one, there's going to be a header where we'll place our logo. And then let's also set up those nav links. And like I said, in this case, at least in my case, I'm not going to pass in that toggle sidebar function. Let's close the nav links. Let's navigate to the big browser. And this is what we should see. And at the moment, there's some kind of error. Let's see. So we have console, blah, blah, blah. So you must pass. Oh, and it looks like I have some issue with use selector. And of course, I didn't set up the state here. Let me double check the README quickly. Yep, here everything's correct. So we're looking for store. And I want to get the store.user. Let's save it one more time. Let's refresh. And now notice, since is sidebar open by default is false every time you'll navigate to the dashboard, basically this is what you will see. Now, is that the end of the world? No, it's not. Definitely, maybe you like this option better, but in my case, I actually enjoy showing the sidebar by default. And then only if the user wants to close it, then he or she can do that. And of course, since the value by default is false, that's why instead of showing both classes, if this is true, basically I showcase that if it's false. Well, that's it. That's how I decided to fix that issue. So now, once we refresh again, once we go back to the default values, we right away see the big sidebar. And with this in place, we are done with our shared layout. And now we can start knocking out the pages. And I think I'm going to start with the profile one.